Welcome to Native Honor Hours. How's everybody doing today?
Hello.
As you'll notice, I have replaced the ugly, nasty old Ed Zendejas with the beautiful, intelligent Gretchen Carroll.
And you now have the gold
And
microphone.
I know, I have the gold microphone. Wherever Ed is, I think he's feeling a little twinge of pain, and he doesn't know why.
Right. He's probably watching, critiquing.
So we are in week 2 here at UNO. We got a lot going on. We had our first Intertribal Student Council meeting last night.
It's awesome.
How fabulous was
It was-
that?
I'm excited for this year's group.
I really
They
am.
want to do so much stuff, so
We
let them.
have a lot of students than we've ever had at a beginning meeting. Like we said afterwards, we have enough students for committees.
Yes, we're going
Who
to even
are
make
we?
subcommittees.
Who are we? Committees.
Hey.
And where were you?
Yeah, Kenny.
Kenny?
Sheesh. I did say. I did let him off the hook. You missed a lot of food, though, Kenny. We had a lot of food.
I don't know how I feel about you sleeping through intertribal. But we have a lot of, the kids are so excited about learning.
Yes.
They want to learn how to dance,
Bead.
make their own shawls. We have a couple brand spanking new officers.
Yeah. Sis Hernandez,
Is our, yep.
Is that
Isis
name?
Hernandez is
our new secretary, and
Trayton.
Trayton,
Like Creighton.
Yeah.
Ozuna.
Yep, is our treasurer this year. So
Yes. So it's going to be a great year. That's all I have. What do you have, Gretchen?
that's it. We're
Okay.
done.
Bye.
Peace out.
It's been a busy week in Indian country. How about Miss Universe? Mrs. Universe.
Yay! She is beautiful.
She is, I'm trying to find the article. There was an article today about how people are mad at her because she is lobbying for Native American rights in Canada. Things in Canada now are at an all-time low. It seems to me that the Canadian government is attempting to exterminate once again their native population, which is really sad because traditionally Canada has been very good to their Indians.
No, no.
Compared to the
wouldn't-
United States.
Nah.
Compared to the United States.
Yeah.
They were allowed to have their own, basically.
A lot of them kept their
lot
own
of-
language.
Yes.
But they got treated
And
really
they have
bad
a
too.
lot of colleges that are native friendly. We do not have that in the United
That's
States.
true, yeah.
We have little pockets within the college, but we don't have entire colleges unless they're tribal colleges that are basically for Native Americans. But what's going on now there is horrible. And the new Miss Universe, there she goes, Melanie.
Ooh, I like that
Ashley
picture.
Collingbull. She is a traditional Native American woman, and she is standing up against the government. She's telling people who to vote for, and people
Who's she
are
going for?
mad. I'm looking for that
Oh,
article.
wait, she's not talking about who to vote for here.
In Canada.
Okay, in Canada. Okay.
People are mad at her because she's not just looking pretty.
Hmm.
People are mad at her because she's speaking out about issues.
And I thought that's what they're supposed to do.
Well, it's all.
They're just supposed to look pretty, Kenny?
Well,
Are you
in
sure?
the United States, the Miss America pageant was funded by, guess who?
Donald Trump.
Exactly. So, and if you've ever heard them during the question answer period, you would know we're not talking about rocket scientists. Not at all. And those girls are truly happy to just sit around and look pretty. This Mrs. Universe is one of the most beautiful women I have ever seen. I have to say I had a little jealousy.
Yeah.
When I looked at her, I thought, wow.
Yes, she is beautiful.
How can we not look like that?
Well, maybe she's so beautiful because she's beautiful from the inside, out.
And I don't think they realized potentially what they were getting with her. When she won, I don't think they realized that she was going to use her Mrs. Universe as a platform to jump off on. People are paying attention to her. It's, for me, a female standing up, a beautiful female standing up and saying, hey, I'm beautiful, but I'm smart, and here are my issues, is amazing.
Right.
And of course, yesterday it was everywhere on Facebook, and now I'm trying to find it, and all I'm seeing are pictures of people's kids.
Of same story, same subject, or?
Yeah, I was
Okay.
the one where it was talking about who she was talking about and who she was lobbying against. But while I look at it, let's talk about what's going on this weekend.
What is going on this
I
weekend?
don't know. It seems to me
I think we have
something's going on here at the big
some musical group, some guy that
Who
thinks
could it
he
be? I can't remember. Could
resides
it be our
here now?
brother Gary?
Gary Farmer and the Troublemakers.
And he's bringing in a whole brand new group of troublemakers. They have brand new music out. It's going to be pretty exciting,
Yep.
and it's going to be here at the beautiful CEC building where we are out of right this moment.
Yep.
And
Community Engagement Center.
Exactly. And you can park in either the library parking lot or right across there is the CEC parking lot. So parking should be good. I will warn you, there's a lot of construction
Yes.
on the UNO campus right now. I would also like to send a little shout out to our Chrissy Channel, who can't listen to us anymore because he is in
Hey,
Arizona.
Chris.
ASU Law. Hey, Chrissy, one of our very own. I could not be prouder.
Yeah. He could still
And
listen.
I know, but he's not here.
He's not
And
here.
he can't, I doubt very much when you're studying for law school, somehow I think you have more important things to do with your time than
He
watch the Native
can
Honor
make a
Hour
little
show.
time, 1 hour a week to tune into Omaha. 1 hour. So yes, and the Gary's band, that's all free.
Of course it's free. Do we ever
Free.
charge for anything here?
No,
No.
we're poor.
We're just
we
lucky
are
that we
making
have-
no money.
Yeah, I know. No. We've never, and you know, really, I don't think that's why we do it.
No.
Personally, I think Ed just likes putting on a party so he can walk around and shake hands and be Ed.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to sing. What happened to that?
I know.
It
You're
wasn't
supposed to
on
sing
his
on
bucket
there.
list. He was supposed to be a
Maybe we'll just-
singing fella.
Maybe he'll get up there, and you
Oh,
can
God, I would
catch
love
it on
it.
video.
I would
Then he
love
can get
it.
his million hits that he wants on
He wants to sing Redbone.
YouTube.
His million. How did Twitter go? How's Twitter going for you? Do you
Uh,
tweet?
no.
No. And today they were telling me I need to Instagram. I can barely Facebook.
Once in a while I get a new follower and I don't even go there. So
I know. I don't know who they are either, that's always kind of weird for me. When someone friends you on Facebook and you don't know them, do you accept them as friends?
Well, there's this new thing that goes by and it shows all the friends of all your friends. So whatever is on their friends list, all those people are going to eventually go by your list and it will say if you want to friend them.
But some of these people, I mean, how do you know who you're putting on your friend list?
Um,
Or you know what's really funny? I was listening the other day and one girl said, Kizzy, our little Kizzy, said she was scrolling across that list and she said, there were people on that list that I thought were my friends. So they
had
unfriended her.
That's how you find
and
that
then
out.
popped
huh?
up on her suggested
I better
friend
never
list.
see you on there. On that.
And you know, they always put,
I have to wait for 1,000 times for it to go by to see if Kenny unfriended me.
that would never
But-
happen to me because I don't even remember who's
So
my friend.
if your page is like open to the public and they see your picture and they're like, "Ooh, who's that hot mama?" and then they click on it and like all your posts and stuff, they'll want to friend you because you're so beautiful and intelligent.
Okay, well, that's not what necessarily happens to me.
Yes,
But
that's how it happens to you.
that's not generally where we're going with that on me. But
But that's how it happens. They
I
see
know.
all that, or they see your post. Some of their friend liking your post or something, then they're like, "Oh, I want to be her friend." So-
have you noticed lately Facebook is getting angry? I think it's a bigger problem in the United States. I think people are a lot angrier than they've ever been. And to be honest with you, I think a lot of our politicians, the way the world is set up and is running, is a major reason for it.
Mhm.
I think that we're getting more racist, we're getting more
know.
angry. I really feel like one of our community members' son was walking down the street in South Omaha and someone rolled down the window and yelled something very racially charged at him.
Do you think we're getting more racist, or do you think we're being more vocal about how racist we were, anyways?
You know, that could possibly be it. It could possibly be that this was all here, but when you have leaders standing up in front of the country basically
Now it's saying it's okay for
be
you to
racist.
express your.
I predicted this 3 years ago. 3 years ago was the first time in the United States that there were more brown babies born than white babies. And I said to my boss, Mr. Freeman, things are gonna be picking up. KKK is once again back, and not only back, their numbers are growing daily.
That's
It's turning.
scary.
The neo-Nazis are back, the skinheads are gaining power everywhere. And the thing is, I think some of our politicians are pandering to that anger and to that racism, and just making it worse at a time where if we don't do something in this country, it's going to explode. For us, it was the 60s. The 60s, the 50s were very repressive like this. Racism was at an all-time high. I was born in 1958, and my parents had been married about 4 years. When my mom and dad married, there were comments made about their interracial marriage within my dad's family.
Yeah, my mom and dad
Mhm.
had comments of being an interracial marriage.
It was hard in Lincoln, Nebraska to walk down the street
Mm-hmm.
holding hands with someone from another color. I sadly feel like we're going back that way. When we were in the 60s, we thought by the year 2015, everybody would have a little brown in them
Right.
so that it would go back the other way, but it doesn't seem to be doing that at all, at all.
Yeah, it's getting scary out there.
It is. And more people are going to die because of it. And what I'm hoping is we see activism change, and people, what's got to happen is people have to vote. You have to vote if you want to get rid of the politicians that you believe are leading you down the wrong path. I see that. I was so proud to see that our president changed the name of Mount McKinley to Denali.
Yes.
I also was really sad to see that this morning I turned on my Facebook and Donald Trump says the minute he becomes president, he's changing it back.
Which will never
What's
happen.
happening in this country? I think President Obama, towards the end of his terms, has spent more time on Native issues, and I think he's really come to an understanding of what it is to be Native in America. His childhood initiative, where he took all those kids down to Washington, D.C., I know our Ponca tribes went, some of my family from Rosebud.
Right.
They took a group down there, and it was amazing. And the president and Mrs. Obama were very hands-on with this group. They were in there. They were learning about them. Obama was saying, hold on to your tradition. Hold on to your past. In a day and age where people are saying, get over it.
Right.
Get over it. Slavery was 200 years ago. Get over it. The Indian Wars were 200 years ago. Get over it. How can you get over it if it's never been addressed?
Right.
How can you get over it when instead of things, maybe we would have gotten over it if we would have had the same equal opportunities as everybody else had in this country to get ahead. Yet you can't put someone on a reservation that is completely run by the federal government and expect them to be able to find pride.
Right.
You need to find that within yourself and raise you up. And that's one thing I will say we are good at doing here at UNO.
Yes, for sure.
Yes, I want you guys to be activists.
I think
want you to
the
say when
kids,
things are
the
wrong.
younger, not all kids are in there, but the freshmen and sophomore coming out, I think they are really gung-ho to, have a voice and be out there, so I
So maybe
hope.
that's a good thing. Maybe we have some hope. Maybe it's a good thing that these kids have something to look at and say no. Absolutely no. And I think a lot of the problem is there's been a lot of scholarly articles out recently about the United States changing from a democracy to an oligarchy, which is ruled by the few, ruled by the upper 1%. Look at our presidents. We've had Bushes, we've had Clintons, and we've had an Obama. Now look at this election. It's a possibility that it will be once again a Clinton-Bush election. That's a monarchy. That's reigning dynasties. How are things supposed to change if we have certain people in charge of our country all the time?
Right.
People like Bernie Sanders, he's raising all kinds of numbers of people. You've seen nothing about him on the news.
Right, yeah.
All we're seeing is Donald Trump and Jeb Bush and their arguments. I want to know, I don't care what they think about each other personally. I want to know what Jeb Bush's economic policies are going to be. I want to know if he's going to put us in another war. These are questions I have of my president. I don't want to hear them name calling. This is for the President of the United States. Talk about having to rise above. And I think if I behaved the way any of them are behaving in my job, I would be fired.
Yeah, and if we were talking about like the white culture, the way they talk about, other cultures, we would so totally, be put down for that.
I read a book one time that the white culture doesn't think of itself as a culture. When you look in the mirror or you're self-identifying, probably one of, I would say mother, Native American, or mother, grandmother, I'm sorry, okay, wait a minute, grandchildren first. Grandmother number one, mother, Native American. I think that members of the Caucasian nation, according to this book I read, don't think of themselves in that term. They don't think of themselves as white, whereas we're forced to think of our nativeness on a regular basis because it's so misunderstood. People want to know the dead Indians. They want to know who we were 200 years ago and talk about who we were 200 years ago. I want to talk about who we are today.
Right. And
In
what we can do
2015
today.
and
Yeah.
what we can do. People will say, I didn't think there were Indians left. What do you think happened? I mean, really, what do you think happened? But a lot of that is our fault too. And what makes me even sadder is every time you open the newspaper, it's something bad about Native Americans. The suicide rate, the alcohol rate, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. While these are all huge problems, I will admit, there are good things going on in Indian country. There are kids coming out of Indian schools every day that I believe will change the world.
Well, like when it was you and Mom's generation when you were all younger, that was the last thing you wanted people to know, that you were Native, probably. You know?
My
Now
mother's
they're not
generation,
yeah,
yes.
now they're not afraid to stand up and say, you know, who they're affiliated with and that they're Native. You know, they don't care if you look down on them because they're getting stronger, the younger generation.
Exactly.
You know?
And I
So-
think a lot of it has to do with Facebook. I think Facebook is raising activists in both good and bad ways. I think it gives voice to everybody who wants to have an opinion, and in this country, everybody has the right to the opinion, but there's a difference between opinion and hate speech.
Right.
And we are, you know, this is America. You say what you want to say, you do what you want to do, but I think hate speech is very different because I think that hate speech is put out to demoralize, to do all the things that free speech was not intended to do. Free speech was so that people could share their views, so that they came from England, where they were restricted in what they could say and what they could do. And if you stop and think about
And
it,
what religion they could have.
Exactly. And if you stop and think about it, when they wrote that, free speech was meant for white male property owners. Free speech wasn't meant for women. Free speech wasn't meant for Indians. Free speech wasn't meant for anybody but that class. Or they'll say the founding fathers wanted Christianity. Most of the founding fathers were agnostic. That meant they believed in God, but they didn't believe he had anything to do here. America was formed on freedom of religion. Yet we're one of the only groups who had to go to Congress to get the right to practice our religion.
Yes.
And that wasn't until what, the 60s, 70s?
50.
Do any of our crack
Isn't it
crack
54?
students know?
I think it's probably 72, isn't it?
72?
Oh, so,
Because
yeah,
I
later.
know it was fairly
Oh, the 50s
recent.
kind of is when we got citizenship,
Right.
something
Yeah.
like that. Became citizens
Women-
in our own
women got-
country,
Women were
finally.
allowed to have the vote before we were allowed to be, before Native Americans were allowed to be citizens.
What was that?
Women were allowed the vote before Native Americans
Yes.
were allowed to be citizens.
Yes.
So when you stop and think about something like that, we weren't allowed to be citizens in our
Right.
homeland.
Right.
That's pretty deep.
It's
That's
pretty
pretty
crazy.
profound.
Yeah. So we weren't considered human beings for a very long time.
No, we weren't.
So.
No, we weren't. I teach intro.
You do?
And yes, I do. And I assigned an article about Hitler and granted it was an Indian country today, and it was biased towards Native Americans. Well, I'm teaching an intro class. I would like you to see it from a Native American view. And it said how Hitler based the Holocaust on what America did to its Native Indians.
Yeah, how
Native
they-
Americans, Native Indians, Native Americans. And a student replied and said, well, it was very different. Hitler was just trying to exterminate the people. America wanted the land.
But they
And
had
I
to
thought-
exterminate the people to get the land.
That's not true. I sat back for a while because I welcome all opinions. That's how I learn too. And it helps me to look at other things. So I sat back and I thought about it for a little while before I flunked the student. No. And I thought about it for a little while. I came back and I said, I encourage you to do more research. The Americans thought we were savages. They thought we were too childlike and would be unable to care for ourselves.
No souls.
No souls, pagans for sure, you know.
No religion.
No religion.
No uniformed religion.
No, no. And that was their impetus
Mm-hmm.
for the genocide. We weren't really people, we were monkeys.
Right. Yeah.
So it was okay to do what they wanted to do to us. So is that different than the Holocaust? I don't think so. I think that at a certain point, the Holocaust was about taking over land as well.
Well,
Taking
didn't he
away
want
the
all their land? I mean, he wanted to take over
It was to
their
exterminate
country,
a race,
right?
but there was land there and money there.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Nicole. There was land there and money there too, but we're getting into real tricky areas. Reasons for genocide. It's still genocide, but is it okay if they want the land?
Right, yeah.
So
Right.
I encouraged them to do a little bit more research on what people really thought of Americans, and I told them to go to the UN website. There are, I believe, 4 to 8, I'm not sure of the number in there, but there are written down rules of what it is that constitutes genocide.
Right.
And every single one of those, that America has done to the Native Americans.
You know, it was a really good movie. Do you ever show in your classes, or you should sometime, is The Canary Effect. And they talk about that,
Yes.
how it all qualified
I
as
totally
genocide.
forgot about that movie.
That's a really good, powerful
Where did you
documentary.
see that one?
I saw it in my intro in Pima. My teacher showed us that.
You know, we should show that to Intertribal Student
We
Council.
should. We should.
We should
do
have an
that.
Intertribal Student Council movie night.
Yeah, we should.
There we go.
Yay.
What fun.
Yeah, because that's a powerful one, and he does go over, you know, these are the things that qualify as genocide. Every single one of them is what they were doing, so.
Well, and the thing I always say when I go to Winnebago and I go to Walt Hill and I go to the high schools here and I always talk to these kids and I say 12 million people were killed in the Holocaust. Over 400 million Native Americans were killed in, oh no, excuse me, not the number's not that big, in 400 years. That's where I came up with the 4. But now my was it 100 million?
I'm thinking 60.
60
60?
million?
High percentage.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Were killed over 400 years. So the genocide in the United States was far worse, but different. The thing is, the Holocaust was so horrific because it was a brief period of time and so many died.
Right.
And that's why they say it was so much worse than what happened in America. Genocide is genocide.
Right, exactly.
Whether it's 100 years or 12 years, you know, genocide is
Yeah,
still
to
genocide.
totally try and wipe out a culture, people, yeah, it's horrible. No matter how long it takes to get it done, it's horrible.
But you know what'll take care of that? Education.
Yes.
If more natives get educated, we will stand up for ourselves. And say we
Educated
are
and
still-
dangerous.
Aim fist, double aim fist. But so that's, I guess we're off our, should that be it for the soapbox? Should we go back to,
Good
Some
stuff.
other stuff?
Some on a happy
shall
note.
we stop on a happy note?
What else
I-
is fun going on this weekend, though? Carter Lake Powwow this weekend,
Yes,
too.
Carter Lake.
so-
Does anybody know if it's hand games?
I
If
asked
any-
Mom.
Oh, okay, yeah.
She said that Saturday it's not all day hand game. It's never an all day thing. So there'll be dancing and stuff and hand
Oh,
games.
so it'll be dancing and then probably
yeah,
hand
some
games
hand
over
games
here.
or
Okay,
yeah.
I
couldn't imagine a hand game all day long.
well,
you know?
I have
That's a long.
the hand games are hard. Were you in the group where they worked on the hand games with us? They're really hard, but they're not exciting to watch.
Yeah.
No, but they're fun to play.
some-
I think it would take a long time to be good at it, don't you?
Yeah.
I really do. I think it would take a long time to be good at it, but it's not fun to watch.
So I think I'll call that number on the flyer tomorrow and see like grand entries, probably 1 in 7 or something, but I'll try and get it listed on that flyer.
I
So
believe
we're
I'm
probably
taking
gonna
my
go in the
grandkids.
evening.
I think me and the grandkids are going.
Yeah, I think we'll go in the evening for grand entry.
I wonder how, well, in the evening, my niece and one of my granddaughters from Rosebud's coming up to spend the weekend with us.
Yeah.
So I thought I would go Saturday day with the grandkids, but if it's hot like this
Yeah.
outside,
Be better at evening.
I feel sorry for the dancers when it is hot like this. Some of that regalia weighs 100, 150 pounds.
Yeah.
Can you even imagine doing that and dancing?
They all need to dance like the one guy when we went to Haskell, and he was East Coast Indian, and he only had a little.
Breech cloth.
Yeah, just-
yes. And, oh my God.
That's what we need to be wearing
and
out
we're
here
all
in the
such
summer.
dorks. It was me and Gretchen and her mom and my daughter.
Loincloth.
And
That's
it
what
was
I
a
want to say.
loincloth. And all of us are sitting as close as we can to him, peeking outside. She said, what's he wearing under the loincloth?
Just waiting for a little
What's going on
peek.
there?
Little
What?
butt cheek.
You know, maybe we should invite some Eastern tribes to our
Yeah, come on over.
I also,
Invited
that was the
guests.
first time I ever saw someone dancing with a bowler hat. Remember the little top hat kind of bowler
Yeah,
hat
I've seen a
thing?
few of those
And
now.
it wasn't a tomahawk, but it was some
He
kind
had
of.
the tomahawk, I think, the
Was
guy
it-
with
was
the
it a tomahawk?
loincloth. Yeah, they
Oh.
have that part of their regalia.
Yeah, it was
So-
amazing. Haskell has a lot of dances and dancers I've never seen before.
Yeah.
I've also never been to mostly a contest powwow. I think they had maybe 2 dances that were not contest.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of intertribal.
No,
Yeah.
not a lot of intertribal.
But
We
yeah,
really
it's
try
fun.
and do both. We do a lot of our intertribal during the day, and then we do a lot of our contest at night.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's when the good stuff
Because
happens.
where's our powwow going to be this year? I
At the
forget.
Baxter Arena.
We're
Big
going
house.
into the big house.
In
We're
the
going
big
into the big
house.
house. I'm so excited.
Hopefully they'll invite us back the next year.
Well, you know, let's not talk about that.
Right.
If I suddenly quit on May 1st, we'll all know
Right.
they're never letting us back into the Baxter Arena again. We'll
Yeah.
behave.
Yeah,
We're
we'll
not
be
going to be
good.
like the people in Lincoln.
Yeah,
talk
the
about the
people in
t-shirt?
Lincoln. What are those kids up to down there at UNL?
Yeah, I saw and you know, God
Do the
bless face.
backstory first. What happened last year?
Okay, last year, the police raided the tailgaters at the Lincoln Indian Center because of alcohol. And
And they made a huge mess.
sadly, the focus was taken away from the people who were doing the drinking and put on to the Indian Center. Some of the headlines were firewater rains at Indian Center and a lot of truly bad stuff. And the Lincoln Indian Center underwent a lot of grief basically because of it.
Right.
So now they don't rent out their
Oh, they put a
their
stop to
parking
that?
lot.
Okay.
That's what they did last year. Now, this
Okay.
year, I don't know what'll happen, but I'm sure if they do allow parking in there, they will be a little closer about
Yeah.
policing it.
You're right.
But basically, if I rented out my house and left, how would I know what someone was doing in my house?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And I guess they trashed it, but I also know they made up to $29,000 a game for that parking. So it was really good for the Indian Center.
Right.
So anyway, and not UNL, before we talk even one bit further about this, I would like to say that this did absolutely not come out of UNL. And I believe that if UNL was aware of it, they would have probably done something to
Okay,
stop
so
it.
it was it someone from the school? Who made this up then?
No, this was made by an outside entity.
Okay.
Just kind of one of those rogue T-shirt making places, because when I read something like this, I always kind of like to try and check it out, because I've posted stuff before that hasn't been true.
Okay. Well, maybe
So
tell
I
them what
did.
the T-shirt
So I
says.
clicked on the
The link for the T-shirt.
link for the T-shirts. The T-shirts say Indian Lot, and the O is a dream catcher, and hanging off the dream catchers are beer bottles.
Beer bottle.
Kenny, can we get this picture?
We have it on Facebook.
Okay, please check it out on the Facebook. And people are wearing these around UNL, and people are furious.
Mm-hmm.
What makes me happy is they had a meeting at the Indian
At the Indian
Center.
Center last night about it. They weren't happy. They're trying to, they want to educate their native youth about how, we're not all drunks and, we're sober people, and it's not right for these college kids to go around disrespecting us like that.
Once
and-
again, it's promoting the stereotype.
Right. And I know our
And
good
it's
friend
racism.
Leo Yankton is down there, and he's trying to get some literature and stuff to bring to the students and, keep this conversation going, because this was just ridiculous to have this T-shirt even made up.
Well, and it's like I told the kids in Intertribal last night, if that would have made it to the UNO office, I'd have burned this place down.
Right.
Vice chancellors would have been attacked,
I just
been
hope
contacted.
nobody ordered any. I just hope it's not on anybody this weekend at the big game. I hope nobody got a chance to order any,
You know, it will be.
you know.
It will be.
I hope they get banned or have to take it off, you know,
Do
right
you
at the
find this more
gate or.
offensive than the Redskin mascot?
I- yeah, it's offensive, yeah. As
Equally?
equally, no, because it hasn't been around as long, maybe as
It's
the.
not as pervasive as put out
I mean,
there?
it's just right, hopefully it just got here and it'll go away. Whereas the Washington team is on and on and on, you know? So this is just like some stupid thing.
The saddest thing for me, and it was really totally incorrect, the right thing to do, when they got rid of the Confederate flag. That was amazing. That was the right thing to do. It was so good to do, yet they still have the Washington team. I mean, you know, it's like
Right.
my boss told me one time, we are a minority within a minority. So it's okay to do things to us that they would never do
Right,
to
this,
the other
this would have
minorities.
never even happened if it was at a Jewish parking lot,
Exactly,
church,
exactly,
you know, or
exactly.
any kind of other person or, in their parking lot. T-shirts like this would have never came out for
No,
anyone else
No.
but the natives, you know?
I heard a term that I really enjoyed because as we were talking about, you know, they put out the bad things. They put out the alcoholism. They put out the drug addiction. They put out the bad things and never the good things. That's called poverty porn. And there is a
Poverty
certain
porn.
section of America that much as it will enjoy porn, will only watch this kind of thing and close their mind off to the good that we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why at UNO, we try and keep it positive. We
Right.
try and bring in good role models. I'm very careful what kind of shows we show. I like to focus on the positive because so much of America is focused on the negative right now. We got great kids here at UNO.
Yeah.
Some of these kids are going to do great things. I have every faith and hope that you are going to be a leader. You already are. In 1 year, the time you've been here, I have watched you step into your space. And that's what I hope we can do by bringing it positive, by saying you can do this, you are a good person. Instead of listening to everybody say, oh, well, this is who you were, so this is who you will
Right.
always be.
Well, we need positive people like Leo, who's been sober for a long time, getting out there, you know, and talking to the youth and talking to other people. We need more people out there so that people see, you know, we aren't that stereotype of, you know, drunk Indian on the street or whatever. And it's kind of crazy because all the people who are drunk in that lot were mostly white people, you know? And it just looks like that we have a bigger population of drunk people because our population is so small, whereas there, you know, I know tons of other nationalities who tend to drink too much, you know, but they want to focus in on our, you know, faults and stuff, but we have a lot more than what people see, so we really need to be out there showing all the positive stuff that's going on.
And it's
And
gonna
make
be-
these people look like fools.
It's going to
you
be your
know?
generation that's going to have
Or
to do it
and the,
because I
yeah.
feel like our generation just kind of stepped back and dropped the ball.
Mm-hmm.
We were in the 60s, it was AIM, it was Red Power. That's where Indian became our word. And we stuck up for things and we did things, but at some point it seems we sold out or we just quit trying.
Yeah, I think you get
One
quit
of the
trying,
biggest leaders, how
got
about one of the
tired.
biggest leaders, Russell Means?
They got tired.
But we sold out too. Russell Means, God bless his soul, and he did a lot of good things for Indian country. He was the voice of Powhatan on Pocahontas. You know, where do we draw the line? I understand we all need to make money. Irene Bedard, a beautiful woman, a role model of epic proportion. When she was here, I was so impressed with
Yeah,
what a lady she
I
was.
really liked her,
And yet
too.
she was the voice of
Right.
Pocahontas. Where are we disconnecting? Where are we as Indian people looking at this movie saying, okay, use someone else for this voice?
Or how about don't make the movie?
They're gonna make the movies. Sadly, they're gonna make the movies. And the story of Pocahontas is a well-known story. How many times when you were growing up did you hear the Pocahontas
A
story?
well-known false story.
Well, and now I read
False.
something that I really liked. Pocahontas was beaten.
Yeah,
physically
she was
abused,
12.
and taken away from her, and
And
kidnapped.
she's 12.
And
Yeah.
but that's not the story America
No,
wants
it's
us
a
to know.
romantic. You know what?
America
There's a
wants
song that
us
I really
good-
like, and I forget who sings it.
Oh, you're getting old.
Something about love, and then it says something like Pocahontas loved him.
Oh, and I love that.
Yeah, and I love that
yes,
song.
it
And then I
was,
started noticing that, and I'm like, she was 12. You know?
Nat
That
King
was in-
Cole.
Yeah, Nat King Cole. And Google it. Nat King Cole. But yeah, they put her in that song like it was some love story that they had. You know?
Yeah, John Smith loved Pocahontas.
Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh, I can almost hear it in my mind, but not completely. Because it was a duo on.
Yeah, and they're singing. Yeah.
Yes. Crazy? No,
No.
that's Patsy Cline. I'm way off.
Yeah. But yeah, so they took her and brought her over there, and she died from
She
disease
died,
that
yep.
she wasn't immune to. So
Mhm. And the entire
that's
tribe was
really a
wiped out.
romantic story.
I know, it really is. And she was 12. John Smith was 45.
Right, yeah.
What
Uh-huh.
do you think would happen in America now if a 45-year-old
I
man would
know. Right.
kidnap a
Yeah,
12-year-old
uh-huh.
girl from her home, put her on a boat for another country?
Right.
I somehow sense we'd be against that. Just somehow
Yeah.
sense.
But they're not taught that.
Well, and
You
another
know?
thing
Or
about the whole
everyone's not taught
Pocahontas
that.
story, what did Belle wear? Belle had on the beautiful ball dresses.
Mm-hmm.
Even when she was just little Belle, it was still very modest.
Mm-hmm.
Think of the Disney princesses that were members of the Caucasian nation.
Mm-hmm.
They were all very modestly dressed in the big ball gowns, and then we had Aladdin. What did Jasmine wear?
Jasmine, all slutty looking. No,
Jasmine
I'm
had
just
on the
kidding.
little garage top with the harem pants. Then we went into Pocahontas. What did Pocahontas wear? Which was
Barely nothing.
Yes,
Yeah.
the little Pocahontas top and the little Pocahontas skirt.
Yeah.
So realistically, we're sexualizing Disney characters because they're of color.
Right. Yeah. And she was up in the East Coast. It was chilly sometimes. They had.
Well, if you're going to do it,
more
why
to wear.
wouldn't you, why would a Disney movie not take that into consideration and cover the women up? Because it was okay not to do it because they weren't Belle or Cinderella or Snow White or the girl in Frozen. What was the little princess in Frozen?
I don't remember the name.
What was her name?
Elsa.
Maybe. I didn't have granddaughters, so I didn't get to see that movie.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, I watched Aladdin 325 times with my sons.
Raylan
Mhm.
loved that movie. Yeah.
And for my daughter, it was Beauty and the Beast and the
Yes.
Little Mermaid.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, I
Well, she
still
was
know.
a little bit
Yeah,
risque.
She was, but she was a fish.
She
was a fish who became a girl, and when she became the girl, then she was more modestly
Okay.
dressed.
So
Well,
as
she
long
was a
as she's
fish
a
that was
fish,
hanging
then
out.
she could be a
Yes.
little risky.
You know, I bet I could still sing the words to every song on a few of those Disney movies. Isn't that sad? I
Yeah,
don't
I
remember
know.
one thing of algebra,
right.
but I can sing Disney songs.
Right. So
So who do you have for Indian of the Week?
we already did Indian of the week.
Oh, that's right, we did.
This is Knucklehead of the Week. Whoever made these shirts is my Knucklehead of the Week, and hopefully, people in Lincoln.
Should we put them on the knucklehead of? Should we put them on the lifetime knucklehead?
The
with,
Dan Schneider Knucklehead
the
Award
Dan
for them.
Schneider?
Yeah,
Well, we haven't heard much from Dan, but football season's coming.
it's a coming.
I hope that they continue to protest at every single game. I hope that we don't let down. You know they're gonna have to hit them below the belt. They're gonna have to hit them with the money. They already passed that where their trademark. When you lose your trademark, it means you and I could go out and make 100 of
And
those
sell 'em.
T-shirts and sell them for
Yeah,
$5.
Yeah, and keep them.
So the franchise doesn't make any money. They're going to tie it up in court for so long because they can afford to. You know, the Indians that brought suit against them, they are suing back. So I think until the other team owners really start exerting some pressure, nothing is going to change. I see that the Kansas City team is already taking Chief Wahoo off of all of their
really?
hats and T-shirts and stuff, but they're not changing the name. So I think once Washington goes, they're all going to go.
Yeah.
I really think that they're gonna have to, because how can one team not do it and not do the other? But there's
Well-
announcers now who will not use that name.
Good.
I just think it's one man with a lot of money who's dug his heels in.
Right, yeah.
Because it's honoring us.
And it's gonna take a lot of education to educate people why it's,
What makes me sad is when I see the people dressed up as fake Indians, and there are Indians attempting to educate them, and they're screaming it.
I know, yes.
Oh, you know what really made me laugh? I saw one where it says, "Go back to your own country."
Okay, let's go park out in your backyard, put a tent up.
President
This is
Obama
my
said that
country.
truly Native Americans were the only ones who should be in the conversation about illegal immigration.
Exactly.
And I
And
brought
what's
that
this
up.
deal with Trump's wife? Now, is she from Mexico, or because I don't even watch news or anything anymore, so I kind of get my
Oh,
news
see,
online.
I'm a political scientist.
So
I love
is
it.
she, what is she? Is she Mexican, or?
I thought, could someone on our crack research team look up the
Donald
ethnicity
Trump's
of Donald
wife.
Trump's wife?
Is she from Mexico, or,
Second, the current Mrs. Trump.
Because I saw something like, he's gonna get elected as president, and the first lady is gonna be an immigrant, or whatever.
Well, Donald Trump is no friend to the Indian. He fights every casino that opens up anywhere. He's got casinos anywhere. And then he talks about his bankruptcies, because that's the American way.
It's just a huge mockery. I saw a little video of him like on Late Night with Leno. No, not Leno.
I can't believe you're up that
no.
late.
No, I didn't. Wasn't up that late. I saw it on Facebook, a little snippet, But he was talking about,
Slovenia.
Slovenia. Is that like near
You
Transylvania?
know what? I think did Slovenia used to be Yugoslavia? No?
Okay.
They were in turmoil for a very, very long time.
Yes.
Emigrated.
That's that Russian bloc. Wasn't Slovenia at one time a part of Russia?
It was a nation state in southern, or maybe it is now, Central
It's
Europe.
next to Italy.
Southern,
It's-
Central
yeah.
Europe.
Kind of in that.
Right next to that.
When I was in Europe, I guess I never realized how small Europe actually is, and how close you are
Right, yeah.
to these other countries.
Yeah, it's a lot smaller.
It's a lot smaller. I saw they put those maps, where they're the comparison maps. And when you put Europe, all of Europe, into the United States, it's so small. When you put Alaska over the United States, I'm amazed at how big Alaska is. And
Oh,
when
it
you
is
put the Middle
huge.
East
Uh-huh.
over the United States, we are teeny,
Right.
teeny, teeny. I would love to go to Alaska, but I only want to go during the summer. And then I watch the summer things in Alaska, bad bugs. Lots
Right.
and lots of bugs.
So you don't actually want to go to
Yes.
Alaska?
I'm not a fan.
Ever.
I'm not a fan of bugs. No, 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 no.
No, me neither. Oh, no, no.
Oh, see, no.
No bugs. Ooh, big
Oh,
mosquitoes?
never,
How do
never.
they survive up in that cold like that?
They are thick-skinned.
Thick-skinned mosquitoes?
And very big.
Ouch.
It's
They just suck the whole blood out of you.
The whole blood.
All the
I was there
whole,
last
yeah.
summer.
You were doing
Yeah,
what?
where, President Obama was in a village yesterday. It's called Kotzebue.
Contribute.
It's a-
First a minute, why don't you come
Yeah,
on
come
over?
tell
sit
us
down
about
with
it.
us.
No, come on.
Oh, he does. We have an anonymous guest.
Yeah, we have an audience
Yeah, he was
today.
up in a village, in Nubia village yesterday.
Yes.
Called Kotzebue, which is 30 miles above the Arctic Circle. And that's where I was last year. My brother worked in a hospital there for a
Huh.
I do. I'm not gonna lie. I watch those shows like Mountain Men
Yeah.
and
There's a
I
bigger
watched
ratio of
those
single
shows.
men up there. You
Heck,
should go
yeah.
up there.
No.
On vacation.
No.
There is where you want to go.
Once it got cold, no one would ever see me. But I watch these shows, and I think partly because I admire them so much. I mean, when I was a little girl and would spend time with my grandma, they didn't have indoor plumbing, they didn't have indoor heat, they didn't have indoor cooling,
Right.
they didn't have running water. We did it through that and heated it up, and I remember the bugs. I remember, because windows were always open, and the mosquitoes in South Dakota approach that size, and eventually they just quit biting you because you've been bitten so many
Right.
times.
Not enough
But I remember
space.
my grandma looking in our beds to make sure there were no rattlesnakes in them.
Ooh.
And I remember all of that, and I know I never, ever in the history of my life went to live that way. When I go home to Rosebud, they make fun of me because immediately when I get there, I'm herding cows
Right.
and doing all that stuff, and I let them know that I am decorative, not functional.
Right.
Yet they continue to make me do these things, and I watch these people that live that lifestyle, and I think, wow. And I love to watch it because it would never in a million years be me.
Right.
No, I am not a what do they call it? Substance? Subsistence. I could never do it. I could never do it.
Yeah.
Never, 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 never,
Yeah, I don't
never.
think I could.
We don't need TV, we have each other. I felt physical pain when they said that. We don't have internet. Ow, ow, I've got to go home. And when
It'd be
go
nice
home-
to disconnect for a little while, but then come back.
When I
you
go
know?
home to South Dakota, my phone doesn't work anywhere. And even if you have Verizon or Sprint, at certain times you have to drive to the top of the hill.
Right. It's going like
That
that
is
too
not
when we
for
go to
Cindy. I
Winnebago. We
know,
lose a
I
little
know.
bit of.
That is not for Cindy.
Don't break down in that one little spot there because you're stuck.
But
No
now,
cell
thank
phone.
God for satellite TV. They have TV. When we were little, there was no TV. And my grandpa would always try. And you could never even see a picture or hear noise, but by God, he'd sit there and watch.
Just a little line going through.
Mhm. I like Central Air. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
I
well,
like
you know what?
Central
I
Heat.
grew up on
like
the
all of
East
that.
Coast with no central air. I didn't have central air until I moved here to Omaha. So, but now to have to live without it.
I remember as a little girl laying in bed, just sweating, trying to
Mm-hmm.
go to sleep. And I think that's why today, even during the winter, I turn the heat way down because if I'm hot, I can't sleep.
Right.
And it takes me back to laying there listening to the wolves and the coyotes, and it was, it was an amazing way to live. We were free.
Right.
As long as we stayed on my grandma and grandpa's 10 acres, we were free. We got to ride horses all day long. We got to do anything we wanted to do and use our imaginations. It was fun. Looking back as an adult, it was hot.
It was
It
hot.
was hot, hot,
It was
hot.
hot. in this
And when
world.
my dad coached football for the University of Nebraska Lincoln, him and my mom would go to the bowl trips, and I would go stay with my grandparents. And that was back in the day where you spent 3 or 4 weeks in Florida, because the team would go way early and practice, and you were always there over Christmas. So I would spend Christmas with my grandma, and their house used to be the old He Dog School. So it had a little wood-burning stove in the kitchen, a wood-burning stove in the front room, and a wood-burning stove in the back room, and they were just constantly kept going, and you were always just a little on the chilly side.
Right.
Just a little on the chilly side. And I remember what it was like in the morning to wake up, and you would be so cold, you could see little crispy things, little frosty things, but we were under 3 or 4 star quilts, or 3 or
Right.
4 down quilts. So we were toasty warm, and I love it, but it would not be the way I would choose to live. And people say, oh, what if you fell in love? Well, if I fell in love, I don't think it would be with a mountain man.
Right. Be a
I
city
think the
boy.
first time you took me home and told me I had to go out and chop some wood for the fire, because I remember in the winter going out to get firewood, and there would be mice and
Ooh.
snakes in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no. But it was always my mom and dad's dream to go to Alaska. And when my dad retired from UNL, they gave them a cruise, and my mom passed before they could go. So maybe a cruise would be good. I've
Ooh,
always
I don't know.
wanted to see-
Icebergs.
Titanic, Cindy's going down.
Yeah.
Did you see those pictures on Facebook about of those shrunken polar bears?
No.
But there's no such thing as global warming. The
Right.
Congress decided. I was reading about a tribe in Alaska who every single night for their whole ancestry lives, they looked and the star was right there on this rock. The star has moved.
Really?
And no one will listen to them. No one will listen to these people. Where's your scientific proof?
Right there.
Isn't part of scientific
there,
proof
we just showed you.
observation? If every year of your life you observed the star to be in the same place with this rock at this certain time, and then suddenly it's over there, what do you think? Or on these mountain shows that I do watch, it's wreaking havoc with their lifestyles. When the water starts to run before you're ready for it to start to run, there's flooding. When you need to get up in the mountains to set your traps and winter isn't coming, you're not having the opportunity
Right.
to do this. But there's no such thing as,
No.
look at
It's
the weather, how
ridiculous.
crazy it is in the United States. I've
Yes.
heard a lot that the natives have said, we have mistreated the mother too much. And
Well,
she's
yeah.
fighting back.
She's mad.
She is hurting her children.
She's mad,
They said
Kenny.
we've dug too far into her. That's where Ebola came from. The native nations have a lot of theories about what is going on. Have you read that Sherman Alexie book where the plague breaks out everywhere but the reservations?
Yeah.
And the urban Indians are trying to go home and they
think
won't
so.
let them in
Yeah,
and
I
all
think
of that
so.
stuff?
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
That's scary.
I'm just saying.
Just saying.
I'm not making any pronouncements on our beloved Congress or the legislature,
We
but I
won't talk
have
bad
to
about
wonder about the intelligence of a man who, given all of the scientific all the evidence, thank you, honey, that there is global warming, a body of men will still get together and say, no, that's foolish.
Right.
Foolishness.
Right.
There's no global warming. So, and, you know, we have no problems. Let's go ahead and put a pipeline straight through the heart of the
Sure.
United States that could eventually ruin every bit of the grasslands that there are.
Yeah.
I watched the Republican debate. I am a Democrat, and I am very liberal. I watch the Republican debate because I feel like we need to be informed. We need to be informed about both sides, about what is going on. And I watched these men negate every bit of science that has ever happened. And I remember sitting there thinking, one of these men could be our president. And each and every one of them said the first thing they would do would be allow the pipeline. The first thing they would do. Now, we're not worried about war. We're not worried about anything else. The first thing the new presidents are going to do, well, except for
All
Trump,
about
because
money.
first he's going to get rid of McKinley.
And all the
Or
immigrants.
get rid of Denali, and then he's going to allow the pipeline.
Kind of weak on the pipeline issue then.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
he's weak on
yeah.
the pipeline?
But the rest of them said it was one of the very first things they do, and I remember looking at that thinking,
Uh-huh.
what about my grandchildren?
I know.
Well, are we going to grow up?
They're
and know
not
those-
thinking 7 generations ahead,
And they should be.
like we did, a long time ago.
Back, I'm sure you're awful young, but you guys might remember. Remember Escape from New York with Snake Plissken, something? It was Kurt Russell.
Yeah, I saw it. It's been a long time
That's the
since
kind
I
of
saw
world that we're heading to. What is it? Apocalyptic.
Apocalyptic.
Apocalyptic. Thank God I have you. Ed would just laugh at me.
Popsicles.
Ed would just laugh at me and let me say those words and say, she's dumb. She's just dumb. But I'm afraid that that's what the world is going to look like, and it's not going to be in too many generations. When I was a little girl, the world is, I'm 57 years old. In my lifetime, we could stay out until the lights came on and be safe and play.
Well, I've seen on
We-
those shows, I don't know, about the cosmos and how long we've been here and millions of years and all the change and destruction has happened in if you went by time, a minute. We've been here a minute and destroyed so much already.
And it's not
You know?
coming back. It's not like
No.
one day we can wake up and say, okay, we're going to change
No,
everything.
you can't.
What's ruined is already ruined. My mom died of kidney cancer. My aunt, who never smoked a day in her life, died of lung cancer. Natives are dying of horrible cancers because when my mom was little and all that mining was going on, that was running into their beautiful drinking water, and that's what happened. And yet, as a little girl, I remember thinking that was the best water
Right.
I had ever tasted.
Right.
Little did we know how bad it
Totally
truly
did.
was.
Right.
So my mother's generation, my mom was 60. None of her sisters lived. My mom or none of her sisters or brothers really lived very long lives. And it was because of. So what are we doing to our children that we don't even know about?
I know it.
That eventually maybe the human race will actually kill itself off. I actually heard a newsman reporting a story where a learned scientist said we need a plague. We need a
Yeah, I
plague
heard
to
you
kill,
say
to take out one of every 3 people. Our planet is so overpopulated that it can't sustain the rate it's going. So what we need is another bubonic plague, another something like that will take literally 1 in every 3 people before the Earth will even be able to sustain where we're at. That kind of
That's
scared
scary.
me.
That is scary.
But you would hope that if it'd be hard to have a plague
Let's
that you
just go
wouldn't be
find
able to
another
find a cure
planet.
for.
Kenny, there should be one out there, right?
Kenny, did
Build
you
us
read
a
that thing where they
spaceship
found
and
a
let's go.
planet that was like like our Earth planet, but after it had already died? Did you see that?
Which one, I mean, they found lots of planets.
That was an
Earth-like.
Earth-like
Earth-like.
planet. Yeah.
They found lots of Earth-like planets that could have life.
Do you think someday that will be us?
Oh, yeah. Of course we'll be
Well,
extinct.
like Venus, or not Venus, Mars, they said could be Earth, could have been Earth-like with water.
Yeah, unless a comet hits us first. But you know, it's not only the pipeline, also, it's all these electronics, it's all this stuff that we're doing, dumping all these electronics into the earth, that affects the water. I know, but it's, you know, it's everything as human beings that we are doing, we're all destroying
Well, and you know
the-
what? Eventually,
A lot
no
of
one-
stuff, Kenny.
eventually, no one will speak to each other
Gosh.
anymore. Is one of my fears.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's always got this
Mm-hmm.
in their hand, is always on it, and rather than sit down and visit with each other. Did you see what I just read on Facebook?
Mm-hmm. I know,
We're
right?
We're not even talking to you. We're like, oh my God, I just read this. Oh my God, I have to text this. I have to do this. And I am, well, luckily I'm a little bit senile, so I leave my stuff all over the place.
Yes, you
Because
leave
I
it,
will go
yeah.
home without a phone and then I
Yeah.
can't do it. But I stopped to realize how much of our lives is built around this rather than getting out and doing something.
I try and like catch myself doing that and try and turn it off or put it away as much as I can when I catch myself, you know. And I don't freak out like if I've left it in my bag and I'm somewhere else. I don't freak out yet. Mom, she freaks out now if she doesn't have that phone, you know. We're so connected like that, but you know, even for a half an hour, if we could just turn it off and, you know, just
Which we're afraid
reconnect.
We're gonna miss something.
I know.
And then I'll sit and I'll look at Facebook for about a half hour and I'll think, I just lost a half hour of my
Right.
life. I didn't learn anything new. I saw the same person's face that posts themselves 5 times a day. You still look the
Right.
same. I don't mean you.
No.
But I mean, there are girls who literally put pictures of themselves up 17 to 20 times a day.
Well, guys
I know
too.
what you
I've
look-
seen guys too. But it was funny because I was catching myself like out on the laptop, you know, on Facebook, and I'd be like, oh, okay, I gotta get off and shut it off, and then go in bed, right back on Facebook. It's like,
know.
what the heck? You
I know. It's like it's replaced human touch.
Well, my main thing is like, that's the first thing I want to check in the morning. You know, I used to check it first, Facebook, but I make sure that I read my devotional stuff that I read, my whatever, my prayer or whatever. I do that first. Make sure I do that first, and then I'll go check my Facebook.
Or you know what's even worse when you're laying in bed at night, you're all comfy, and you hear that ping.
Yeah. Well, you know what I've been doing too? I've been totally shutting it off at night. My phone. The ringer.
The ring.
Because if I happen to hear it like buzz a million times in a row, then I know it's probably emergency or something. You know,
I don't
someone
hear it.
calling me.
I don't hear
But
it.
I totally turn it off. I don't hear those beeps on Facebook, those messages, because it would wake me up and I'd have to check it, and it'd be like, oh,
And
they
it would,
like something.
usually
Oh,
it would
okay.
be occasional thunderstorms expected at 2:35.
Yeah. So.
But I'm a mother. I'm always afraid someone or some bad things happen in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
so I'm
well,
always afraid
I was
something's
thinking
gonna
that
happen
too,
to
but
somebody.
we survived when we didn't have stuff. You just go over and you knock on someone's door and
We
hey,
had
we're
house
going to the
phones.
hospital.
I mean, we
You
never
better
didn't have
come with
phones.
us,
We had
you know?
house phones. But when I was a little girl, we had one house phone. Everybody had
I
to
know,
share.
you had to wait.
And it would be you'd be talking to your boyfriend and your mom would get off the phone. Get off
Yeah,
the phone.
or your little
now.
brother.
You'd be like,
Hi, Mom,
oh,
she's on the
no." And I remember when my daughter came to me, I think she was 8th or 9th grade, and said, I need a pager. I said, what is,
Ah,
and those were the
pagers.
days when the cell phones were like that big
Yeah.
and super expensive, and it cost you like $15 to make a 10-minute
Right,
call.
Yeah.
So
That's
she
hilarious.
was convinced me that if she had a pager, I would always be able to reach her,
Right.
and so it was a safety issue.
Uh-huh, yeah.
And now I think back in that, I mean, that was the beginning of the end.
Mhm.
My daughter and I can sit in a room for an hour and not say a word because she's,
Right.
mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, and when we were younger, we could be gone for 4 hours and
Yes.
have no connection, you know, but we got home okay and the parents didn't, or they didn't care, but, you know, but.
There was less trouble for you to get
Maybe
into.
they didn't even know I was gone,
I
but.
worked at a restaurant, and it didn't close till 1 o'clock at night, so I didn't get home till 1:30 or 2. My parents left the front light on, but that was all it.
Right.
My daughter works at Tiger Tom's. She gets out of there at 3 o'clock in the morning, and she doesn't even live with me. So I will wake up in the middle of the night in a dead sweat thinking, oh my God, has she had a drive-by shooting?
I know.
Was she mugged on the way there? Because it's right on 72nd and Ames.
Right.
And then I'll text her in the middle of the night. Are you okay? You senile old woman, I'm fine, leave me alone. I'm 25
Yeah.
years old or 30 or however old she is.
Yeah, we're just way too connected.
I know, however old she is at this point in time. She might be getting to that age where I'm no longer allowed to say it.
Hmm.
Have you ever noticed Ed doesn't like to say his age out loud?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard him say his age.
Mm-mm. I'm 57 and fabulous.
You are.
Actually, after my teenage years, I'm surprised I'm here. I don't think anybody really ever thought Cindy'd make it to about 30. I remember thinking, if I live to be 30, I'd just kill myself.
Right. So old.
I know. The generations were very much more split, though, in our generation. We were burning bras. Our moms were wearing the pointed,
Yeah, the
our
pointed
moms were wearing
cups.
girdles and that kind of stuff. So when we started to rebel, we rebelled big, and my family was not having it. My mother must have had the talk with me 7 million times about how Indian women were modest.
Mm.
Indian women were modest. Indian women were modest. Indian women were ladies. Indian women were strong, and they were modest. Or my dad would say, cows have udders too. Put on a bra. You're not leaving the house. So I was probably, I remember walking down to the corner and rolling my skirt up, pulling the fishnet tights out of the purse, pulling on the halter top, and going on.
That's funny. That's crazy.
I know, but now our generation, we don't. If this would have been 30
Now
years
the
ago,
girls can barely
I would have been in
cover their
polyester
privates with
jumpsuit
shorts.
with the tight curly little hair. You know what I'm talking about? Where you go and get your hair done once a week and it's the tight little curls.
Yeah, the curlers.
That would have been me. Me and your mom would have been in polyester leisure suits.
Yes. Well, it is 4. Do you want to mention what's
Wow.
going on? I just want to mention for Mom, her prime time starts up.
What a great deal! Is
At
that
the
Tuesday?
That's going to be Tuesdays at the Willa Catheter branch from 6 to 7:30.
Catheter.
Did I say it again?
Catheter.
Did I say it again? I always try and not say it. Willa
That's why you say it, because you're
Catheter.
trying so hard
Yes,
not to.
Branch.
Well, it's a great night.
Yes.
Great family.
Dinner and stories for the kids. They get to take books home. If you need a ride there, you can call and have them send you a taxi for free for you to get there. So that's every Tuesday
And I
night.
do know they have a Facebook page, Prime
Yes.
Time.
Prime time.
It's run by your mom, Valerie Killscrow.
Yeah.
Some
I
truly
think you have to
great
be
Native
added
women.
on there, so you might have to add like my mom first, Cassie Carroll or Valerie Killscrow, and then they can add you to that because I
They
think it's
always have a
private.
nice group of kids. I like to go every once in a while, but I feel kind of creepy going there without a kid. What's that woman doing here without a kid? But it's really, really an amazing
Yeah,
thing to
so
do.
that starts
And then we'll have the what? Metro Powwow.
Metro Powwow on the 12th.
12th.
Yep, on the
I know.
12th.
Stop and see me and
Yes.
Gretchen. We
We'll
will
have
be
our
having
own booth.
we will be having jewelry
For
We're making
sale.
some pretty, pretty stuff.
Yeah, and that's always a good powwow. Good day. Hopefully the weather cooperates.
I love Metro Powwow.
and-
I'm not one of those people who is competitive about powwow. There's room enough for all powwows to be. All of our powwows are different. We're a school-run powwow. Metro's a school-run powwow. The difference is they can have it outdoors.
Yeah.
If they would let us change the date, the university is pretty much married and the community to us being in April.
Right.
I would like to have a powwow in
Yeah,
November.
that would be nice. And then there's the Midwest Powwow coming up
Yes.
on the 25th, 26th, 27th
I
at the
hope
Ralston
people post a lot of
Arena.
pictures. I will be at my son's wedding.
Go and support your community, the dancers. There's going to be awesome drummers coming, for that amount of money to win.
Mm-hmm.
Oof, they're going to have some good drummers, I bet, come in. So
Yeah,
if you
so
get a
it's gonna be
chance,
great.
go there. What else is
And then,
coming up?
then we're in
Uh,
October.
Sheesh.
Sheesh.
Sheesh. August
Only
went by
8 more
so
months
fast.
till school's over. All summer long, it was slow. We were thinking, I just want the kids to come back. We're so lonely.
Right.
Last Friday, I
been
thought,
crazy.
well, how long is it till school's out?
Right, it's been a crazy 2 weeks here, so yeah. And then if you ever have anything you want them to talk about or me to mention on here, just Facebook us with
Yes.
information. And I'll try and get that info for you, for Carter Lake powwow
Yeah.
times and stuff.
Yeah,
on
we'll
there.
put it up on the Facebook page. We'll have our
Yeah.
crack assistant Kenny do it. If what would you have done? Would you have run the show if me and Gretchen didn't show up?
Would you have gone on?
Would you have done Native Honor Hours? Yeah,
That's what I do.
you would
I'm
talk.
not a talker.
Yes, you're a talker.
Yeah, he would turn
Would you
it
guys
into
have
a
stepped
UFO
in and saved the show?
Just
Mostly,
ramble like we
actually, Gretchen and I had a very intelligent conversation today. If it's me and Ed, usually we just be mean to each other.
Right. Yeah, a lot of nitpicking. A lot of
Yeah,
nitpicking.
thank you.
Yay.
Thank you.
Well, we know.
Maybe we won't let Ed back on.
Yeah. Ed, you're out.
You're out. Can we change the name?
Yeah, well, let's just take
Ed
over,
picked the name,
start
and
a
for
new
the first
Facebook
2 years,
page.
I couldn't remember what it was.
I always get it
Native-
mixed up every
Me
time he says, go
too.
ahead, and then.
I know,
'cause you're
because then he
thinking
puts on
like-
the pressure
Yeah.
because he loves to say,
does.
welcome to the Native
Right.
Honor Hours more than anybody has the right to love saying something like that. So
Yes.
every once in a while he'll throw, Cindy, I'll be like,
Yeah, I know.
I don't know.
And you
I don't
try
know."
not to flip those
And I
words,
do.
and you do.
I do.
I do it all the time,
I
too.
know, I know.
He's
I
like,
know.
I'll give you a break. You only been doing it for a couple of years.
But me, he mocks, I think I'm a little senile and I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
There's a lot in my life I'm fine with not remembering. I'm okay with that.
Right.
People walk up to me and start talking to me, I think, oh my God, I have no
I
idea
hate-
who you are.
Yeah, I hate not remembering names. I hate that.
A guy came up to me and started talking, and I was looking at him, and I said, do you mind if I ask your first name? He goes, we dated 3 times.
And another thing that stinks is when you worked at a lot of places and and you've seen all these people coming through and whatever, and somebody remembers you from one of the jobs, and you're like, oh, I don't.
You know what's
I don't
funny
even
for
know
me?
where-
I will recognize them if I waited tables for 30 years. That's what I did. I worked while I was a single mom with 4 kids, and waiting tables was the only thing I could do that would make the kind of money and allow me. I could work from 10 to 2, and then pick the kids up from school, and then on the nights they went to their dads, I could go back. And we did the every other weekend thing. So every other weekend, when I had the kids, I could take the weekend off. When their dad had the kids, I would work a double Friday, double Saturday, double Sunday. But what will happen is, people that I waited on, especially downtown, will be at UNO and they'll be looking at me, and I can tell they're thinking, where do I know
Yeah.
her? And I know them exactly. You
Right.
tip me $1.50, I will remember you for the rest of my
Right,
life.
because you're not in that.
And so I know who
Yeah.
they are, but they don't know. And I'll every once in a while I'll go over and I'll say, I was your waitress at Famous Dave's, and they'd be like, oh yeah, we loved you. You look so different. The only difference is I don't have on an apron.
Right. Yeah.
And when you're a waitress, people don't really look at you. They don't. You look at them, but they don't really look at you unless
No,
they're
not-
angry.
not if they're,
Yeah, no.
I'll
And unless they're
take.
angry. Or if they want something to drink, the cup goes up. They don't really notice who you are. But even regulars, I'll see them when I'm dressed like this, and they'll be like, I could tell them looking at me like,
Right.
Or they'll say, where did we meet? And I'll say Famous Dave's, and then it's like, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, thank you for
Yeah.
listening today. We had a great show. Okay, we'll say it. We
next
missed you, Ed.
Yeah,
there,
we
there, so
missed
you don't have to pout,
you.
because tomorrow he's going to contact us and say that show sucked.
Yeah.
Nobody liked it.
Even
'cause
though
I
it's the
wasn't
number one
there."
show of the year.
Yeah. It's the one we're gonna sell to NPR, but
Right.
that's okay.
You
We
missed
will
it.
hopefully, we are going to really try hard this year to be here every Thursday at 3 o'clock, so you all can count on us being here.
Except next Thursday,
What's next Thursday?
or the Thursday after.
What's
The 17th. Oh, no, next Thursday, we have to do that.
next Thursday? Probably be Ed.
Yeah,
Well,
it'll be
have-
Ed, and he can maybe get Eric or.
Yeah, his little
these
guest
two.
hosts. Yeah, yeah.
hop up
Ed's-
here.
Look at him. You guys
That'll
have
be
to
the
come on
Ed
the radio.
show.
We enjoy having guests, but we like them to see you.
Right.
So next time when I say come over,
Maybe
here,
we
come
need
on
like
right
an
down.
audience in the background mic.
You know what's embarrassing? The first time you see yourself,
Yeah.
though. The first time I saw myself, I thought, I'm old.
Well, because people see us talking to these people, they hear us, but they don't hear what they're saying, and we're all like, yeah. So you should stick some mics over there for them,
Yeah.
for our audience members.
A little camera
Kenny,
we
come
could
on.
turn on them.
That's because you are the man. You're the tech guy.
I don't even get pizza today.
Oh, oh.
Is that for me?
You can have that sandwich.
Didn't say that.
Well, for heaven's sakes.
So
Thank
yeah.
you for listening.
Thank you.
will
Peace
see
out.
somebody in some form.
See you
next
tomorrow night
week.
if you can make it. Gary Farmer, Troublemakers, 7 o'clock.
Have a good week.